if you have the right intentions, and you want to push forward on something, you will. If not, and you're working on something, and this is clearly, I'm saying from the entrepreneur standpoint, and you're working on something that you're not excited about, you will most likely fail.
True.
And you need to be excited about it, even if it's a boring business. Welcome to the messy middle this week. It's quite messy, not only because of what's going on in the world, but also our recording of the episode that we normally do on Tuesdays didn't come through. But don't worry, that topic was kind of boring anyways. So we've got another one today that Frank's putting together. I'm in Paris, where Frank's actually from France. Frank's in Estonia and Teddy's in New York. So we might get some loop-de-loop conversations with my jet lag. But Frank, what are we talking about? You want to talk about intention?
Yeah, intent. For
Hmm.
two or three reasons. I mean, the first one is a book that no one read. I really love. It's called Chance and Intent.
Yeah,
I
no one's read
think
that book. Who's it by?
I have no idea. It came from the Kaufman Foundation. It was a couple of economists who talked about entrepreneurship from the chance perspective, which is something we talked about at a previous podcast. And I kind of want to look back into, if you wake up every morning thinking you're going to do something, I'm a strong believer that it will happen. Also, there's a thing where you kind of get locked into
Hmm.
in the messy middle or even outside of it.
Yeah, none of us is in LA and we're having this
Sure.
Are you talking
conversation.
about
Hold on.
manifestation? I mean, you're the guy who doesn't believe in God or religion and everything. You're like, intent, manifest.
No, I can. It's fine. I'll explain the rationale. The second part is whether you're in the messy middle or not. And I recognize it happened to me like lately, and so that's why I want to correct course. Is you may become like driven by the external instead of being driven by you, and that's quite easy to get into it. You're gonna get an email, you're gonna get social media, you're gonna get stuff going on, and then you just follow this path, and there could be opportunity driven, and they're like, I got an email from some guy, and that could be an opportunity, and all of that, I think at one point shuts down your intent. You don't realize it necessarily, but suddenly you're very busy with no intent.
Mm.
And the thing I want to go into is just like to recognize that, and then to realize you also have freedom. You can't shut down some of these signals. You can drive it. If you're in a place where you're doing something that might not be, the right rhythm or things like that, you can renegotiate the position you're in. And again, I think sometimes you get into these rhythms and I feel like you have to break them. I just wanted to talk about that if that's familiar with you guys, and if not, I can talk about my own personal experience. But I think like that's kind of a general theme. Don't get lost. Don't get lost into into things that don't come from you.
So intention. So let me restate this back to you, and then I want Teddy's thought on this. What you're saying is wake up every day, focus on what you really want to focus on that's coming internally from you, and realize that the world and everybody around you most likely wants you to do things that they're doing or influences you. And quite often when you're in the messy middle, you can be influenced by a lot of things that are not your thinkings or intentions, and you need to then reconsider what you're working on to make sure that it fits in with what
Yeah, it does.
who you
It
are.
doesn't have to be too cryptic. It doesn't have to be every day. All I mean is, at one point, especially if you don't have ideas or especially if you're
Mhm.
exploring, you might just get very busy, and you'll have a lot of things to do. And none of these things really leads anywhere, but they kind of keeps you busy, and they might lead to tiny things. All I'm saying is reassess, at one point, and being like, is that, recognize and then reassess, and being like, is that a good deal? Can I do a new deal with all these externalities?
Give me an example.
And the good deal, I'll give you an example, right? Which is right now I'm running one startup. I want to launch another one.
Hmm.
And I'm really that's the thing that pays the bill right now. And the startup is great, and we have great investors, a great co-founder, a great team. We have up and downs. But I'm getting absorbed a lot into operations because I want the startup to be good. I want everybody to be okay. But then it drifts from, being able to just be on to just have like maybe 1 or 2 days a week on my calendar where I can focus on explore other things, which is also good for a startup. And now I'm like, when I look at my calendar, it's like every day I've got blips of things about that. And I'm like, I let that drift to a point where I'm not efficient, neither for a startup or neither for myself. So then I'm like, I understand why I got there, but I understand that if I don't address it, it's not going to be good. So things like that. And like Teddy also, Teddy and I want to explore some stuff in AI, and with you too, Gabriel. I want to be able to reorganize my life to do that. And if I don't do it, it will not happen. Nothing will happen. You too, Gabriel, have some example, I guess, of that lately. You have to be precise about it. You have to talk about them in details.
So let me talk about it.
And Teddy too. I know Teddy is also going into that. And so again, we talked about it before at a high level, and now we're in it, which is when you're in the messy middle, there's a risk you get lost in it, like the swamp in the never-ending story. And and so that's it. That's all I mean is at one point don't get sucked into the swamp.
It's easy to get caught in things that are not necessarily very important, but it looks like it's something that it's like a short-term thing. It may seem that you like that thing.
Yeah, and just to finish, and I pass the ball back to you. But to me, I think the way it works is some of these things starts as exploration, the same way as people say it's going to be a temporary tax. It's 1%, it's going to be temporary. But then this exploration becomes tasks because you didn't shut them down, and you have to go back to being like, this was an exploration. Am I where I wanted this exploration to go? And if not, now it's time to kill it. That's it. Sorry, and now pass it back.
Yeah. This sounds like putting things under the rug and postponing stuff. I mean, this has been the theme of my life pretty much. I really want to do, like, I'm a curious person. I want to explore stuff and just say yes to everything. It seems like a good opportunity.
Yeah, you have to say yes to everything, but at one point you have to come back and say no to a lot of them. Right?
So that's the hard part, because then there are little challenges here and there, but you're just excited by the big or blinded by this maybe big ambition, mission, whatever, and then you just don't find the time to address those things on time, and then it's too late and it takes over your life. So it's hard to step back and renegotiate, as you said.
It's not hard to
you're
step back
making
again.
agreements.
It boils down to you wake up and being like, that's my life. Like, fuck, I can pretty much do it.
True, yeah. It's probably that easy, but then it's hard to get to that point and be like,
I agree.
F this, it's my life. I'm going to... Yeah.
The few people who listen to us and who are into that, they understand.
You typically have a contract with someone else, like a non-formal agreement, verbal agreement that, hey, we're committing to this, we're working on this, and then you want to renegotiate that just because you decided it's your life, but then there's another person, so there's also like
of course it's
always negotiation and going back and forth.
It's always about other people.
But wait, but if you don't want to do it, and you say it's your life, and you wake up, you don't want to do it anymore, it's going to not just come through you just saying you don't want to do it. It's also going to come through your work and your work effort. People can see if you're not interested in it. I mean,
it's a good point. What I'm talking about is with people. It's not when you're alone. It's something that involves other people.
Yeah.
Right? Well, yeah. So if it involves other people, a lot of the times, I think we even know when we're putting in a half-ass effort into something, or we want to show up. Case in point.
It's the fishing lines.
Yeah, but case in point, look at the messy middle. We didn't even take vacation from the messy middle during summer, and most podcasts do take 1 or 2 weeks off. And we said, look,
suckers.
Yeah, exactly. We might not come back, but what I'm saying is we're showing. I'm in France, on my vacation. Even though we say we don't have vacations, but I'm working, right? And this is a passion, and we love doing this. It's cathartic, but. If we really didn't care about the messy middle, we probably would have not shown up for half the podcast, and then somebody would have dropped out. So
correct.
I think short term you could get over it if it's just like I'm feeling not so great about this, I'm not excited. But if you know deep down inside that you're not doing what you want to be doing, but you are actually still doing it, your output will be just not great.
Yeah.
Again, I want to go back to the intent, which is, to me, it's not about doing things you don't want to do. That's fine. It's duty.
Right.
It's about being where you don't want to be. It's about looking back and being, that's where I wanted to be. The deal I wanted, the fishing line I thrown and the collaboration I'm doing or whatever is happening is not where I want it to be. And just time to renegotiate because you are in the messy middle, and the goal of a messy middle, it's like a startup, right? The goal of a startup is to figure out a product that sells and that people like. And the goal of a messy middle is to find, a good new dynamic for a new team. So then you can do a startup. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of that is to explore with things, to explore with people, and we've been doing that for quite some time. But I just want to get people at least to think about that. Whenever you're doing this thing, you might get into the illusion, because it's good because you're like, I'm making momentum, right? I'm moving, I'm going on this thing, and you might go into the fear of being like, shit, none of these deals were good, and you can manage maybe 3-4 exploration at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you realize all of them are bad, it's better to kill them now and to have like a lot of free time again and kind of restart your messy middle cycle than feeling whatever driven by opportunities into 4 bad deals.
Right.
And again, after that, there's other component to take. For example, if you need cash, then do the thing as duty, take the cash. But again, realize what you're doing. What I mean is everything is intent, but you shouldn't be, at one point, it's fine. It's part of a human experience, which is you're trying to convince someone to do something with you, but that other person is also doing the same to you. And so you have to, it's a deal. You have to be like, is it a good deal for me? It should be a good deal for both.
Yeah, I think that's why,
and just to finish, and just to finish, because I'm
already.
No, just it's some last thought that came and I want to add to it, which is I'm thinking about my co-founder.
It's a Frank podcast today.
No, sorry, so I'll stop, promise.
No, you won't.
No, I'm thinking about my co-founder right now, like on Electis, and the great thing about that, and it was the same with Startup Weekend and with Recorp and all this company before, is you can talk really easily with your co-founder and be like, hey, I'm tired, or I want to reassess, I want to do that, and this is not working, and and that's not going to be an issue with any good relation. So and if you don't have that type of relation, then it means you have an issue.
Can we go now?
Sorry. Yeah.
Gabriel, go ahead. Been trying to say.
My belief is that a lot of the times we get ourselves into situations that we realize are not the best situations, and it's hard to say no to things. And I'm saying about entrepreneurs in general in the messy middle. And quite often you go through a rebound experience. Frank said, if you need the cash and everything, like right now I'm in the thick of the messy middle. And I am fielding offers from people to do certain things. And my belief, one of them is raising money for someone. And the concern of raising money for another person while you're figuring out your messy middle is, can you actually go out there, raise the money, and put on a straight face, and get the check? Because if you don't believe in it, you're not going to raise the money, because none of us are bankers. So like I have
that's true.
Yeah, none of it, bankers can bullshit their way through it, and bankers have no problem taking a 5% fee or a 4% fee and saying, we're going to raise the money. Now, a lot of that is because it's commission based, but sometimes these bankers are going to tell you whatever you want to hear. So I think when you're talking about
the trick is to say it's the investor's responsibility.
Right, but it's the investor's responsibility, but somebody's still going to have to sell it to the investors. Come on. The three of us have pitched investors, and I always say it's easier to raise money for somebody else's business, but that's only if you believe in their business and what you're pitching. So, I think that is also a challenge of this idea of intention. And you want to be smart of making the decision of who you're going to work with if you're going to do some of these consulting gigs in the messy middle to get your energy back or cash levels. Because if you pick the wrong one, and Frank's rule is always like, a bad deal is better than a good deal. As long as you have a deal, it's better than any deal.
No, I was saying, exactly. A bad deal is better than no deal.
But I think it's different in this scenario because the energy it takes to do a lot of these things that we're talking about that are not necessarily corely related
Yeah.
to our own stuff is that you could kill your next idea before it even gets started if you work on the wrong thing.
Yeah. If I can go back to my 2 principles, right, which is a bad deal is better than no deal, and always follow natural traction. In my mind, and that still applies to that, right, which is what I'm talking about is not if you have like 3 or 4 bad deals going on, because a bad deal still means you have a deal, which still means it's fuel your purpose.
Right.
What's bad is when you have 4 no deals, or like, it's like it's not a deal if it doesn't go into what you want to do, if you're just somehow, doing something with no intent. So that's kind of the way I would find the logic there. The other thing is the particular case of going out there and believing or not in a product to raise money, that's one thing. But I think the general idea is when you're in a messy middle, people ask you, what do you do? What are you up to? And if you say, I'm building this startup, or I'm working in these 2 things, or I'm doing that, that is who you are to society. That is who you are to your network. And that is who you are to a social network or whatever, like in virtual and reality. Which means if you signal your fundraiser, it's going to be a different signal than if you say, I'm launching this new thing in AI. It's going to lead other type of introduction and things like that. And I know that the way I do it on my end is whenever I'm in the messy middle, I send a messy signal. So people are like, I don't know what Frank is really doing. He's doing this and that and this and that. And to me, it's fine. It's a way to say, if it's noisy, then no one really knows what I'm doing, is the same as it's nice. But as soon as I know what I'm doing, then I really shift to a very clear signal where it's like, I am doing that. That's very clear. But if you start to send a message that's very clear to your network and that is not what you want to do, that is dangerous. You will go in a place that you don't want to be, and always worried about that.
So can you say that again? If you send a signal that what?
I'll give you an example. If I wake up every day and I tell people, like the thing, whatever, working on to be like, let's do a multi-agentic B2B things to help people do that. What will happen is, people say, you should talk to that person, or, oh, that's interesting, maybe that. Or maybe the person say, that's a crap idea, I fucking hate it. Whatever it is, you'll have data, you'll have signal, you'll have introduction. But all of that will be going towards your idea. And later on, you might come back and be like, that was a dumb idea. I need to say no now to everybody I said yes before. It's fine. It's intent. But if you'll be like, my friend asked me to do this thing and reach out to my network and do all these things, like, that has nothing to do with what I am, then if you don't pay attention 6 months from now, you might become the signal you sent.
Right.
If that makes sense, right? It's like if you're trying to find a good example, it's the same as when you're an intern in a company, maybe with a job, and you're like, I'm going to do an internship at whatever, McKinsey. Then very likely you just sign up for becoming a consultant for the next 10 years of your life. Yeah. It's going to be really, really hard if you say, I'm going to start doing, this internship, but then after that, it's fine. I want to go and work into whatever life innovation with biotech, or although McKinsey, I guess, you can still think it's a good platform for that, I guess, but you see what I mean.
I think no matter what you do,
what I'm saying is don't commit. What I'm saying is don't commit unless you want to, right?
But that's
I'm
the thing.
About
you commit to something.
Yeah, but you
decide
commit to something
that you
because
want to
you're
work
tired
on
of the
something.
messiness.
Even if you come up with like whatever fresh idea, you're a first-time founder, you come up with an idea, you start working, you commit, you think that's the end goal of your life, that's the purpose, your life mission. At some point, you'll hit a roadblock, and you would think that you gotta negotiate. Take your life into your own hands, and you may have partners, co-founders that you're not happy with, that you wanna renegotiate terms. You would feel probably, like in my case, you're putting more than the others and you share the equity equally. Whatever the reason is, you will hit this point where you will feel like maybe you did the wrong decision. While you were focused on making the right moves, those moves led you to something that's not really where you want it to be. But I think it's natural. You will come to that point, but you can't just like renegotiate and leave projects and businesses after a year of commitment.
I agree. All I'm saying is don't forget to do it.
I really think you can lead businesses.
You can?
Absolutely. I think.
Yeah, but like what happens if you do like 3 times, you start working like with someone and like after a year and a half, you decide that at the first roadblock that it's not your thing
Not the
and you
first.
want to do
It should not
something
be the
else.
first. It should not be the first roadblock after a year and a half.
Okay, so then the question
If you're not,
would
if
be,
you're not, so like, I mean, come on, like most people that leave, they leave pretty early on. They don't stay a year and a half into something and leave. How many of us do we know people who've been a part of something in a year and a half and they're like, okay, I'm done. Like this is really successful. Like if you're a part of something and you leave after a year and a half and it hasn't really gotten anywhere and you've had no traction, then I think you're the mistake because you haven't figured it out that you should leave. And I think if you stick around too long and like there hasn't been progress, even if, you think there might be, that's also a problem. And then this depends on ownership, this depends on what you're working on, but like I I I mean, how many projects have you left after a year that you've been a part of fully, and then you have not successfully transitioned it? Because Frank actively founds things and say, "I'm leaving," right? He builds it into his structure. So I, I think that, and I get this from a few entrepreneurs. Ugh, I hate it. I feel like Dan Martell or something. Richard Branson once told us, but no, Richard Branson says like if it's
I
not
love
working,
Dan. Hi, Dan.
I love Dan too.
Nice,
But
Dan.
after 1 year, if it's not working, like why should you be doing it? And again, not working means like you've not raised any money, you don't have any traction, and you're not in a better place than we were a year before.
Yeah,
I guess.
but
Sorry,
in case if it works, just one thing. In case it works, you have traction, you have everything, the business is good, but you feel like you're not in the right place because you thought in your mind that your idea of whatever this thing is, it's very different than where you are right now. It doesn't have to be related to business metrics. You just you're
that's
and then
possible.
the question:
gut
what are
feeling.
some of these signs? Yeah, gut feeling. What are some of the signs that, like the first signs where you should like reconsider and renegotiate first with yourself and then with your partner and whoever it is on the other side?
I think unhappiness is a good one.
Yeah, and happiness. That
Or
definitely
tiredness or
right?
something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
I think you should have some kind of pleasure in it in these things. The other thing is, again, like the messy middle. It's tempting to think you get out of a messy middle because you're doing something. But again, like whatever the scenario is, even if you have traction on something you don't like again, you can redo the deal. You can choose what you want to do. So you're, the messy middle is not the same as I'm a computer science engineer of 12 years of experience in whatever C++ and Python, and I'm looking for a job into doing that. And then your messy middle is which one?
Yep.
The messy middle is more dangerous because you're an entrepreneur, so you can be anything.
Yep.
There was this stupid meme I saw the other day where it's like, I am clay, I can be anything, and then it's like society, and it's like, and at the end it's just a brick. And and you can and you have to be careful into being like, what, I can be anything. Do I really want to be a brick? It's
That's a very good one.
I like that one.
Yeah.
And so it's not because you're a brick that, and that you want it to be something. So it's like, I want it to be something that's great. I can be anything that's great, but I'm a brick, and it's like, what the fuck? You shouldn't settle for accept to be a brick now. You're still clay. And so it kind of goes into the grinding, right? Which is messy middle on day one and messy middle on day 500, STEM principle. But it doesn't feel the same. You might want to settle for, I think what I'm saying is don't settle, don't give up. It's if you found a bad exit, don't take it. And to me, it's different from a bad deal. Again, to me, a bad deal versus no deal means, let's say your goal, for example, is to do, again, I'm going to go back to Teddy, but whatever, like increase people life by doing tech and genetics.
Yep.
If you're like, I really want to launch a startup that does that, and you cannot do it, but you get like to work as a contractor for a company that's going to build a DNA reader. It's not the deal you wanted. It's a bad deal, but it's better than no deal in that field.
Yep.
But if you have a great deal for something that has nothing to do, which is the typical one is like whatever, like you'll be like, oh, I'm going to work 2 years for Starbucks, for whatever, developing some app, iPhone app. That is very far away from where you want it to be. And it's fine if you take the deal because you need the cash and be like, you know what, 2 years from now, it's not the deal I want. So you signal to people, I'm doing 2 years at Starbucks to make some cash, and I'm starting to work on my startup in 2 years, and I will have enough cash, and that's the plan. Like, so anyway, so that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what you want to do, then it's easier, because then it's all about gut feelings, which is, I don't know what I want to do, but I know this is not it. And so then you keep fishing.
Important.
Yeah. Sorry, it's kind of a messy podcast. but it sounds cryptic, but it's very clear for me, and I know it's clear for you guys. And I'm sure it's going to be clear for anyone who's in that. I think we lost Gabriel to jet lag.
Just be smart with your intentions. I think we have a certain intelligence of people who listen to us, all 44. But the truth is,
combined.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. You know
that you don't know. It is wisdom. Sorry.
So come on, trying to get a zinger for us on Instagram. Jesus. So, now you lost. Now you lost it. Now I'm too tired. I'm done.
It's fine.
I can't keep talking. That's fine for me. The zinger. Let's go back to the zinger.
No, I just think if you have the right intentions and you want to push forward on something, you will. If not, and you're working on something, and this is clearly, I'm saying from the entrepreneur standpoint, and you're working on something that you're not excited about, you will most likely fail. And you need to be excited about it, even if it's a boring business. And my comment about even if it's a boring business is we might think something's really boring, like rolling up a bunch of plumbing businesses and putting in plumbing tech software and AI. It's boring, and it is shitty, but a lot of people make money off of it. So I think you need to be excited about it, and you will know if you're not excited about it and you just want to do it for the money. And the problem is, if you're an entrepreneur that gets excited internally about this stuff and not the money, then you will most likely, even if you're successful, end up in the messy middle again. Quite often, more than not. Not to say that we won't be in the messy middle again from whatever reason, but
of course.
You make a shit ton of money off of, I don't know, whatever business, and you don't like it, you're going to be searching for the meaning of life for a long time.
No, and two things that makes me think about. Number one is, we know we don't know. It's very hard to signal that. Yeah. No one wants to hear that. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't know they don't know, and they kind of go into the illusion of whatever, writing a book about how great everything is, and be like, this is the thing, and it's because you want to signal everything's okay. For a few people who listen to us, they know the complexity of these things. It's not an existential crisis, but it's the capitalistic equivalent of it. And it's very complicated. There's a lot of unknown, and chance plays a great role into that. So chance and intent are two things you need to kind of get out of it. Like, that's your shield and your sword. The second thing, I guess, is the
chance and intent.
Yeah. Sorry, I like
Dungeons and Dragons thing. Or
I've been playing Elden Ring
Monopoly.
lately. I guess that's why.
The second thing out of 150 things.
But sorry,
now.
The last thing I want to talk about, because I want to apply that to myself too, which is we've done like a bunch of episodes now at this point, and I need to work on, and we'll share that with the community and online and all of that, but just kind of like a model or something like that, so people can position themselves like not some magic tool, but like closer to, like something, so we can condense the discussion we had in the tool. And the way you do that is you write, and writing is also something very important. At one point, whenever you start writing, I write in English poorly, but better now with ChatGPT. But whenever you put things in writing, and I'll put that as a blog post. It takes, to me, I don't know, people are different. I don't write blog posts for people to read it.
Mm-hmm.
I write
Well,
very long blog posts to me to have clarity.
To listen to it.
Exactly.
Clearly,
it's a different thing. It's a choice, right? Either you write, or you do something for a big audience and it's going to be dumb.
Yeah.
Or either you do something with a very tiny audience, but it might be more advanced. And so that's another trick. I think at one point, and maybe that's a good experience for all of us, and we can do that when we'll meet in France, is write where you are. Like writing really helps to process things. It's not the same when you write your thing like, this is where I am, this is the things I have to do, and this is the thing I have to deal with. So just don't talk about it, but writing helps to put things together. I think Paul Graham just wrote about that also. Maybe it's why it's fresh in my head. Anyway, so a couple of tricks.
Yeah. Rick Rubin says you shouldn't care about your audience. You should just create stuff for your own soul. I think that's...
Other people say the opposite, but I clearly don't. I'm like, if you start to care about audience, then you care about volume. And if you care about volume, you have to please everybody. And then if you please everybody, you're obviously not going to be as sharp. We're entrepreneurs. We're in the business of rejection.
I got married. I got rejected enough that finally some girl wanted to marry me. Okay, I got the quote for this week because this is a short one, and next week will also be a short one. Rick Rubin is actually the quote. One of his most well-known quotes, even though it's not from his book: "Reduce, not produce." So, because he was a production, producer. So he would always put on the back of the albums, reduced by Rick Rubin, not produced by Rick Rubin. Nice. Because the artists would come in. I'm trying not to explain it all, but artists would come in and they'd be like,
it's like Steve Jobs, just cut things, like say no to a lot of new ideas and keep it
just
pure.
Like Steve Jobs.
Very hard to do. Very hard.
Yeah.
Did you thought of Rick Rubin before I shared, because you said I have the code, Gabriel?
No, I didn't think about it before. Because you mentioned it, I thought about it. You think
cool.
like I dreamed up before the podcast?
No, I was like, okay, weird.
I would have had some French quote if I really was not jet lagged. I would have been like,
You'll find one. Well, go to the catacombs for personal motivation.
It's just all sold out. So if you want to buy me a ticket for my birthday, I'll go.
The catacombs are sold out. Wow.
I think the tours are sold out or something. I looked online. Okay. So it's the only cool place right now.
Cool.
Paris for an American to go.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.